Hey, y'all. As if I couldn't get any cornier, I decided to call today's live feed Saturday Live. I think that's good. So that's what it'll be listed on, I think, when we post it up on our YouTube. It is posted on YouTube right now because we're live. So I was looking at some of the commentary on Facebook just recently and Instagram about what we should make today, and I've been thinking about it. So I'm going to make a version of a Seax. A Seax is the Viking knife sword. You know, they could be anywhere between this size to this size. So we're going to make a Seax. I think that'll be really cool. I'll make it as a full Tang knife, or kind of a hidden full Tang, and then maybe we'll do something fun on it, like do an Edo wrap later. We won't do it all today, but we'll do the forging today. I encourage you to ask questions, but here's how we have to do this so that you get your question asked. Use the super chat feature. We get a lot of questions on there. It's very difficult to get to all the questions because they just come in. When we use the super chat feature, boom, your question's on a separate page, and it's very clear and it's easy to see. And I'll say your name, I won't give your last name, but I can say, hey, Jimmy asks, what kind of beard oil do I use? So then I can go in there and tell you what kind of beard oil, whatever. So what I like about this is honest. One of my favorite things about forging blades, it's straightforward, it's honest. There's no hype or hidden things in here. It's just steel and fire and hammering. So today I'm going to use this 80 CRV2. Honda makes a car called the 80 CRV2 also. I don't know why, but that's what we're going to use. This formerly belonged to Mike, but he's not here now, so we'll just use this piece of steel for our purposes. And we will make a Seax, my version of a Seax. So I'm going to put the steel in the fire. Always start with the point. I'm going to use power hammer and a press. First thing to do is set up a preform. Preform is probably the most important thing about getting shapes that you want. I was looking at some other, sorry, can you hear me okay? All right. People forging kukris, and I want to try and encourage them, but they don't have the preform, and I just like, it's valiant effort, you know. But if you set your preform up, the knife is a lot easier to make. So when you have the correct preform, so this one we're going to set up to be, you know, a Seax is kind of like a Bowie knife. And I'm going to talk about Bowie knives for a minute because I'm sure this is going to really get people bent out of shape. And I'm not trying to make people aggravated about it, but it's really funny because that is a modern knife with interpretations that came from stories. So James Bowie and Reason Bowie are the two Bowie brothers, and if you do some research on them, you'll find they were land swindlers, and one of them died at the Alamo. He was probably curled up underneath the bed, sick. I mean, he wasn't well, so Santa Ana's boys probably bayoneted him, and I know that sounds terrible, but there's a truth to it. So when the stories about James Bowie kind of spread around back in the day, over in England, they were making Bowie knives, you know, these big knives. Nobody really knew what they were. And sometimes I think of them like when you go back and you look at books with old Bowie knives, they're cool. We just commonly use that term. We say Bowie knife. That just means, you know, knife, frontier knife made between 1820 and, you know, 1900. And they take various forms until what we have today, what we call it, which I think is very fascinating. But is it the American edged weapon? Absolutely not. I would disagree with that 100%, because I had this question on something last week when I said something about it. We're getting hot here. I'm going to stop in a minute. The tomahawk is, and I'll tell you why. I think it's my thought. This is not a fact. I mean, it's just my opinion. You know, it's just my opinion, man. I think the tomahawk is based on an Algonquin word. I think maybe a Powhatan word, but you know, and I'm not. Tomahawk is the modern pronunciation of it. There's a different pronunciation, but I don't speak Algonquin, so I don't know. But that meant like a war club, you know, those ball war clubs, or it could have been a stone war club. It could have been many different things that it was, but it was basically that war club, stone axe, and the word became to be known as the steel. You know, they were importing all these belt axes, and they just started calling that's a tomahawk. But I believe that is the American edged, you know, tool weapon that we could say traditionally. Because guess what, fellas? Nobody discovered America. There were already people here. This was their country. This was their land. Let's give that some credit. So the tomahawk, and that's why, not the Bowie knife. So let's trace the Bowie knife back a little further, where I think it actually came from. The knife that's called the Seax or the Seax or however you pronounce it. I don't know, because again, I don't speak those old languages, and I don't think anybody else does. So I'll say it however the heck I want to say it. Seax. So before Bowie knives, we used to have Seax. That sounds pretty corny. I was going to do a shirt like that. And I've made a bunch of them, and I enjoy making this piece. It tends to be very popular amongst knife makers, but maybe not so much amongst collectors. But we're going to make a badass one today, I hope, if it comes out. So if I fail, you get to watch me fail. If I succeed, you get to watch me succeed. So I'm going to go on the point. I'll go to the hammer, because we have a limited time for feeds. Now we go back over here. Look, we're still hot. How cool is that? Now we can tune this up. All right, let's make that point longer, because right now we're setting up the pre-form. So this would be a pretty wide Seax. We'll do a modern interpretation also, which there are examples of them having full tangs, but there are more examples of hidden tangs. And this is a very old piece. You know, they find these things that they're 1,500 years old, supposedly. You know, it's kind of difficult. You can't, a lot of things are hard to date, especially when it comes to steel. It's very difficult to figure out exactly, unless you see, like, here's this blade, here's this time, here's where it came from. That's a lot of background noise because the air compressor had to cut on. So I guess this is at best an anachronism here when we're making a piece like this. We don't fight with edged, you know, we don't fight with swords anymore, so making a sword is a little trickier. You have to figure, like, how do you make this to be accurate? Now, I'm going to make more of what I would call a utility version of it. So I'm going to make about, I think 12 or 13 inch blade. Be kind of cool. I think we did that last time. All right, now I'm going to tune it up some. Probably stretch that point out more, so we'll see. I don't want to hit it too hard. All that scale will come back, hit me right in the face. All right. More preform. I think I'm gonna make that point kind of long. What?
Talk about the super dramatic again.
Oh, super chat. So just to remind you, and I'm not being rude, it just allows your question to get answered because we can't see it. There's so many things rolling through here. We're seeing everybody. If you're there, you might see a few people. We're seeing everybody. And the way we can see your question is just do it on super chat. I don't really know how that works. I know that allows us to see your question. So if you have a question, throw it over there. We can see it and we'll answer it. Nice. So it might look a little strange right now, but preform is the way to go. The preform shape is how we're going to get what we want. So ideally, you see there's the section in the middle, but this will be the widest area, kind of where the belly and runs to the point, and then the back, it'll taper back towards the handle. Hopefully, I don't fail at this. Tune it up a little bit more. All right. Now start looking like a something. I gotta see how, I'm gonna go get the ruler. I'm not sure. There it is. The flammable ruler is always, no matter what, how many steel rulers you get, the only one you're gonna find when you wanna measure something that's hot is a wooden one. It's just, you're just not gonna find those steel rulers. They're hiding. You know, they're like, ha ha. The wooden ruler will get burned up. So we gotta go from there to there to be that size that I was talking about. Proof that I can't measure. Let's see, there to there. We are missing some space here, so. I think the coolest one of these so far is the one me and Charles Lionheart Ellis made. It's a Damascus one. There's a picture of me. I got like mad scientist hair. Go cruising back through my Facebook a couple years. And he was over here. It was Damascus, has Fuller in it. And it was hardened and everything. It was really, you know, really awesome feeling. But I didn't finish it. So he was over here and I gave it to him to finish. All right, now do a couple other things here. Try to do that weird taper that these things have in them. Probably all end up being the same thickness. Squeezes back out flat again. Okay.
Austin asked why use a toaster oven versus an even heat or timber.
Well, Austin, I have an even heat and I have a, this is a Jinkin kiln. So the difference between hardening and tempering is pretty simple. So hardening is whatever that temperature it takes to austenize. I guess the steel to transform from austenite, into solution, so that I can quench it and form martensite. And once it's hardened, I'm tempering at a lower temperature. So that tempering temperature could be 300 degrees to 400 degrees, 500, whatever it is. And that little oven over there, I've calibrated in a way so if we set it at 350 degrees and we have a thermometer inside, it's 350 degrees. And that's why I'm using that oven, that probably came from Target, that baking oven for tempering. A big difference between hardening and tempering. Say hello to who? Addie. Hello, Addie. That's a cool name. I haven't even started on an edge bevel yet. So there's a weird, kind of a strange taper that happens in some of these. Now whether that's true or not, I don't know, but we're gonna play on it. I'm gonna set this up. That's about right. All right, I'm gonna move this steel here out of the way next, because we're gonna make a modern version of it. So I'm gonna move that out of the way. See, we have a 13. I'm gonna make a. I gotta calculate how long I want the handle to be. Probably be 6 inches on the handle. Let's see if I gotta download a calculator for this thing.
Josh Schmidt Knives says, "Hey Jason, looking good. Can't wait to have you this summer."
What's up, Josh? Josh is a good bladesmith. We're doing a big event, the Big Sky Hammer In. If you want to see some of the most amazing bladesmiths and knife makers in the world, be there. It's out in Frenchtown, Montana. And you have to find out about it by going to Josh Smith Knives. So look Josh up and see if there's a spot for you to get in, because I think there's not many spaces left to get into this hammer in. All right, move that piece of steel out of the way just a bit. Okay. Preform. Okay, hopefully this works out. This is, make sure this is the size I want it to be. It's going to get a little longer, so. Preform. Make sure I got it measured right. Probably don't. Maybe it's going to end up being more like 12 inches. We'll see. And tongs. Use my flat jaw tongs to kind of help guide me here. We'll work the edge bevel in. I think I'm gonna do that handle just a little bit more. So you want to come over here, Matt? Because I'm gonna be like right. I'm gonna be right here. I'm gonna be right here. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Might be making this look too easy. This is going faster than I was wanting it to go. I got a demo. I did a demo a couple years ago at the it's the Smoky Mountain Hammer In. which is coming up. If you want to go to a cool hammer in, it's in Waynesville, North Carolina, March 20th through the 21st. It's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday hammer in, so I may be giving you the dates wrong. Let me look real quick and I'll share it with you. The dates are, March 20th through 21st and 22nd. So it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'm doing a kukri forging live there. It is in Waynesville, North Carolina at Haywood Community College. Your contact for this is the American Bladesmith Society. So if you go to the website, the American Bladesmith Society website, you'll see the links to the hammer in. Now you can't buy a ticket, but you can register to be there. Also, you could just show up. But Friday morning at, I think 8 or 9 o'clock is when it starts, probably 8 o'clock. So that's when it starts. It's all day Friday, all day Saturday. There'll be a knife show on Saturday, and we'll have a lot of fun. So I hope that you all can make it. There'll be some great demonstrators there. Well, I ran the air out the back door. Plus, not much difference between a Bowie knife and a Seax, right? How did I get my Big Blue so quiet? Oh, I ran the exhaust out the back door. Out the back. I just drilled a hole in the building, basically, and ran it right out the building. Oh, thank you. Here's a cute little knife I'm working on. It's fun to make stuff like this. Like I want to make me a little integral EDC. This is 52-100. So I got a really neat piece of real gnarly stag. I'll put that on there. That'll be kind of neat, and I'll carry it in my belt. Open up a box or a package. So that's a fun one to do. Tune this up a little bit, so when you're forging, you get all this weird stuff happening to your blade. Go back and tune it up. Okay, it's not too far off from where we want to be. Guess we could do this hidden tang. So I will do this more traditional, and I'll do it with a hidden tang because there's a look I want to have on this, and I'm not really going to get it. Not really going to get it by doing it in a full tang. I've done some cool full tang ones before. bad. It's looking pretty Seaxy. Let's give it a squeeze real quick back here. Start. This ought to be all right. I could forge something else too. We had time to forge another thing while we're doing this also. So let's see, let's do a quick survey. What else would you like to see me forge when I'm done forging this? So we'll go by numbers. It won't be a karambit. Down. So I've got all the big forging, you know, the heavy forging done right now. I just want to pretty much go back, start cleaning this up some more. Basically like a long, skinny Bowie knife, pretty much.
Overall consensus for what you should make next is a tomahawk or axe.
Tomahawk or axe, huh?
Yeah. And then after that, a small...
A what?
A small folder.
Oh, a small folder. That's easy to do. Just weld a hinge on it.
And Ryan greatly donated $2 and said new content has been seen.
All right. Thanks, Ryan. All right. An axe.
A small folder.
Well, that's out.
Or a hunter skinner.
Here's an axe that already was forged, if you want to see. So this is made out of two pieces. So there's one piece that wraps around and there's one piece that goes in the core. And one of the things I like to do when I make a piece like this is I use all high carbon steel. I don't use a soft piece and a hard piece for the edge. I just use all high carbon steel. And then you go back, tomahawk drift that through. A small hunter. I think we got time for a small hunter. All right, I'm gonna finish this all the time in the world. All right, I'm gonna put you here, tune this up. So I got a lot of requests for the Seax when we were over on Facebook. feel like we spent most of the time just on the preform of it, which is kind of interesting. All right, one more heat and then we're gonna go back in there. And yeah, it basically looks like a big Bowie knife. Now I'm just gonna do some planishing. So planishing is done with lighter blows. I'll use the power hammer to do some planishing. I'm not trying to move any steel around. I just want to smooth it out a little bit. And there's no such thing as edge packing or grain packing. That is mythological. That's not a real thing that really happens. What we're gonna do is just make it a little smoother, I hope. That's the idea. All right. A little more space. I'm gonna pull out a little bit more right there where the belly area would be. Of course it's not.
I was thinking about joining the ABS. Do you think it's important to have a journey smith or master smith to have a successful career like
this? That's a great question. If you want to get better as a maker and not be your own judge of your own work, but you want other people, your peers, who have also presented their work for judgment, like this piece passes the physical qualifications, this piece passes the finish qualifications, and your peers, other master bladesmiths who have been judged by other master bladesmiths, will look at your work and go, yes, this is the quality enough to be deemed as journeyman or as master. It's a test. It's not somebody just going, oh, I'm a master smith. It's a test. It's reviewed by peers who have gone, your betters, technically, who have gone before you and paved the way. So you join the ABS because you want to support the art of forging blades and keeping this tradition alive, and you want the support of a group so that you have a structure to test within. The Journeyman Smith test rating is for you alone, and it is to encourage others. The Master Smith test is for you alone, and it is to encourage others. You will not be able to sell more knives, you will not be more popular or any such thing because you completed a journeyman or a master smith rating, but you will say, I've got the guts to present my work before other makers, to have them judge and say, yes, this is a quality, or present my knife as a test, which would cut and chop and shave and be bent 90 degrees and not break, as a test to say my work, my skill is been submitted to peers for review. And as being reviewed, you are awarded your Journeyman Smith rating or your Master Smith rating. So do I recommend it? Yes, I recommend it. But it's for you. It's not for anyone else. And that's important to note. Got me monologuing again. Got to do some pre-bending here. I'm going to bend this piece in. even edge thickness is important. I want it to be even all the way across.
Got a couple donations. Marcos donated $2 and asked, what size rounding hammer would you recommend for a beginner?
This rounding hammer is about 3.5 pounds. This is from Big Blue, and this is the #2 rounding hammer. And this is a great size. This is for moving, this is for smoothing. You can also move steel around pretty good with each corner of this. But this is the one that I like the most from them, and it's the one that I use commonly.
Ben Toon said, how are you going to ship me that worn out Big Blue hammer so you can get a new one?
Get your truck and come down here and get it, Bubba. And they don't wear out, actually. They're pretty well built, so. If you would like to buy my hammer or my press, all you have to do is show up with the cash and I will sell them to you. And I will get myself a new hammer and a new press. But then you can have the ones here. And these are only a year old, so I usually try to move, I use materials in and out. Also have a grinder. I have a Northridge, which is a great grinder. I'm going to sell that. I'm getting a new one, and you just have to send it in a message. You can't. You have to DM me over on Instagram. Trying to make this smooth now is what I want. It's dark. I'm not trying to move the steel around. I'm just trying to smooth the steel. I'm gonna get this as close as possible. What's us? Austin? Austin who? Dibs on the press. All right. These presses are $7,999, Austin. You show up with that dough, and I'll load the press up for you. And then we'll get a new one. Oh, Austin. You better bring a case of wine, Austin. So just again, just to make sure this makes sense, just trying to smooth it and straighten it. So you can see I want a consistent edge thickness and I want a smooth blade finish, okay? I'm not doing any, there's no way to even, you can't make something more dense. There's no way I can add weight to this thing. And so by saying you're edge packing or grain condensing, that just can't happen. So I'm losing material. If you look, you see all the scale falling off the blade. I started with a certain mass. I'm actually losing mass because of surface decarburization or scale. Now that's just a very, very, I mean, these things, you can't even measure them in the thousandths hardly. They're so thin you can barely measure the thickness of them with the equipment that I have anyway. And I'm losing a little bit of surface material, but I'm also going back and smoothing and making this thing the final profile shape and the final profile, the edge thickness that I want. And I'm doing that. So, not much difference between a Seax and a Bowie knife. I'm gonna fix that tip here. And anyone can argue all they want. All you have to do is look up the diagrams of what they've found that they call a Seax, and you'll see that any Bowie knife will fit into any of those categories. And so the Bowie knife, really, the shapes of them aren't anything new, and it's definitely not American. Bowie knife is European in origin, based on what was showing up and what people see. Yes, James Black forged a mythological knife in Old Washington, Arkansas, back whenever he did that. They believe that some of the knives he made, they believe that they have the originals of some of the James Black knives in the Arkansas Museum. I've seen them, I've even handled one. Really cool pieces, very interesting construction. And I think they're really cool. But it's an American, it's like a lot of things. We have a lot of mythology in America, believe it or not. I mean, we have lots and lots of mythological things in this country, and we want to believe them. Even though they're not true, we want to believe them anyway. So, I had a dream about, I was in one of these old graveyards, wherever the heck Jim Bowie's remains are, maybe the Alamo. It was a dream, and I took his old Bowie knife and I stuck it in between the stones, and in the dream, it was a dream, and I stuck it in between the stones and I snapped it off, and he popped up out of his grave and he was mad, you know, and like I was like, whatever, bro. I didn't say that. I wrote it all down, but I can't really remember how it went, so I just thought it was funny. This is just light touches here. So I pretty much like that. So not a real serious raised clip. Pretty not necessarily flat. You see a lot of times people will make a Seax, they'll make it dead flat. There's a lot of examples where they are pretty much straight, but we don't know why. You could think maybe it was pretty much straight because of sharpening over years and years of use. I'm sure no knife found in a peat bog was, hey, here's a brand new knife, let's throw it out there in the peat bog and, you know, let someone find it 1,500 or however long later, you know, 1,500 years later. So we got the blade, I'm gonna chop it off, I'm gonna do the tang. This will be a hidden tang. Here's something else. Maybe this will be a hunter. Hunter? I'll make a hunter. What type bar stock am I using? I'm using 80 CRV2. This is 1.5 inches wide. This came from the New Jersey Steel Baron. This is one of my favorite steels to use because it's consistent. It is made in Germany. It's very consistent. The chemistry is the same every time I get it, unlike a steel like 1095, which is relatively dirty steel. It's good. You can make great knives out of it. I'm not knocking on knives made out of 1095. I'm just saying this steel is it's a little cleaner. It has vanadium in it. Vanadium is a grain refiner, wear resistant. There's a couple great things that vanadium add to this. It does not have a high enough carbon content to activate vanadium carbides like W2 does. The reason to use the old school W2 is not to make a hamon. It's to make carbon and vanadium carbides on the edge, which is about as ultimate as you can get. So this is what I'm using. Don't ask me any more questions about the W2 because you can't get it. You can get a version, you get a modern version of it from the New Jersey Steel Baron. I'm sure he has a modern version. The chemistry is different than the old stuff. Most of you probably want to get it to make hamons. If you want to make an awesome hamon, like a stunner, get 1050 and forge your blade and quench it in water and you will see an amazing hamon. And it will be 60 Rockwell on the edge. 1050 will get to be 5960 Rockwell. So I'm just saying, don't believe the mythological stuff about knives and knife making and steel and all this stuff. One is better than the other one. The only one that's any good is the one that you learn. You learn everything about it, and you try and be a good student of the steel and learn what will it do and what won't it do. So I'll put this in here and heat that up, and we'll start working on a hunter with an integral guard. And I'll grab that and we'll do the Tang. Maybe I'll grab it with these tongs. See, how long did that come out? I think I miscalculated a little bit on my steel. So we'll see from the point. So it's 12 inches instead of 13, which is fine. And we'll do that. It's getting warm in here. And I need to and there for a minute. It's off there for a minute. Microphone. This makes sound quality way better. Hey, how can I hook this thing in here?
You want to get this over here?
Just clip it on my beard.
Okay.
Don't.
It's actually good. There you go.
So it's interesting when you find out how much one of these microphones cost. I don't want to break it. That's all I got to say. I don't want to break it. There's going to be a lot of preform for this hunter because the way I want to make it. And I haven't done one in a while. Let's see, got to get the right tongs. That's probably hot enough. So I want to make enough Tang so that it goes all the way through the handle. This knife has no ricasso. This is what I call essentially a hidden full Tang. I always hated the term rat tail Tang. I thought it was like, what the heck does that mean? So, one more heat. So it's a hidden full Tang. What we're going to do is make sure we have enough steel to go all the way through out the end of the pommel, and because I want to, and it's wide enough so that the wood will just kind of barely cover it. So we have a hidden full Tang. Because I have steel, I don't have to go by economy of steel. I can just use steel. You know, back in another time, steel was a pretty hot commodity, and it wasn't common. It would be clad with something or forge welded some other way. But what I'm going to do is make a hidden full Tang, like you would see on a European type sword from the, I hate to call it, they're a lot more of them are Renaissance era swords, but all the way back into the Viking era, you know, like this would be set in, but it's a hidden full Tang. Look it up, oak shot. All right. While that's doing, we're going to work on this preform stuff. All right.
Austin donated $10 and said I'll be doing a wine tasting tomorrow. Come on down, bring the crew. I'll let
Oh yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to come down there. This is really more than I need. It's more than I need, but that's all right. I'd rather have more than I need than not enough. So what I want to do now is just get it kind of straight. I will go back and squeeze the hell out of it whatever we need. Okay. So pretty much all this will be hidden. The blade will be exposed. This will be a nice Seax, according to me. According to me. All right, now here. I'm gonna work this thing because I want an integral guard on this thing. So, I'm just getting the steel where I want it to be. Look at there. Preform setup. What in the world am I doing, right? I don't like hunting knives with no guard. So I'm making a guard on it. That's how you do it. It's one of the ways. There's a bunch of ways. That's just one of the ways. Don't be afraid to move the steel around. Don't be afraid to work the steel. Don't be afraid to ruin it. No ricasso on this knife. Ricasso is kind of a waste of space for the most part. I don't care what anybody says about that. All right, it's good, straight. Of course, it's a little longer than I need, but that's all right. There's the Seax. Or you could easily make that into a Bowie knife if you want to. All right, now I'm just gonna straighten the blade just a wee bit. There we go. All righty. Of course, I can't find the hammer I need. It's more than I need. All right. Get hot again. You got to get one other thing. Get all the tools you need together before you start doing that. It makes it a lot easier. Still don't know where is the Shelby hammer. Use this one. Well, it's kind of frustrating. All right. Never have enough tongs. Never have enough tongs. Not ever. Probably one of the best tricks right here for straightening blades. I'm going to share it with you right now. So, Leg Vise. very difficult to know what people used. The further back you go in history, we can say, well, we have diagrams, or we have wood carvings, or we have that. Well, people could look at video from our time and say, hey man, I saw this Star Wars thing from that time. Does that mean they had this ship called the Millennium Falcon? So if you think that people didn't come up with fantastical stuff back in that time, you're not thinking about it too hard, because they did. We always see something from the past and think everybody from that time was just barely struggling to survive, and I don't believe that. I think it was, all right, I'm gonna use this one. Hit it with that one. I'll probably use, like I said, I might even need to cut some of this off, because probably end up getting too much here. So. Never hit the face of a hammer with another hammer. There you go. That's isolating material so you can have enough to make an integral guard. Then you go back and straighten it all out, of course. It gets very wonky, but it's thick enough. It's just a matter of, this is clay, and if you think about it being clay, it's going to make you a better maker, and you'll be able to do whatever you want to with steel. So our Seax is pretty much straight. I mean, and yes, it looks very much like a Bowie knife. And all I have to say is, go and look at some drawings. There's sketches of some old Seaxes, and that's kind of what they'll look like. There'll be variants. Some of them will have pretty much a straight edge. This has a very subtle arc up. So that's how we'll do it. We'll do a little grinding. We'll take off a little material back here. Basically, this will be a straight line coming out to the belly. Very subtle belly. This will drop down as a straight line. This will come up as a straight line. It's pretty stout back here. There are some of them that have a kind of a strange reverse taper, so they're thicker right here. They're not all like that. Some people will make you believe that they are, but they're not. A lot of them they find are thicker here. Don't really know why. It gives it more weight maybe, but I just made mine like I want to make it. I'll stick this under here, and then we'll go back to this. Ooh, it got ugly on us. Bad ugly. That kink in the back is not good. It looks like a fire poker right now. We'll figure out what to do with that little kinky spot.
It's a charter thing. Okay. The connection keeps going. Because the charters have.
Oh, I wonder.
I think we've.
Where can you get what leg vices? Oh, where can you get a leg vise? Well, you have to look for them. Come over here, I'll show you something. So if you want to buy a leg vise, sometimes you can do an eBay search. There's a group on Facebook, I think it's Blacksmith Tools. But if you want to find out if they're good or not, unscrew it and look at the screw. And if the screw is nice and smooth and still oily, then this is like the heart of the thing. If that's still good, then it's pretty much good. Make sure there's no cracks or breaks in it. You don't want a little, the bigger it is, the better, honestly. The bigger this thing is, the better. Mount it properly. I have mine mounted on a steel plate, and I welded it on there. You know, it's like, if they were so rare, they wouldn't cost about 175 bucks. So they're pretty common. I've got 3, 4, 5 of them. So you can find them. You just have to look a little bit. Gosh, this thing is so ugly right now. I just don't even know what to do. Except fix it. So what we did by getting that preform shape, we ended up making this thing a lot thicker than we needed. So we're going to translate that into width again. Make sure there we go. All right. Gonna work it out and get it fixed. I might even go grind a little bit on it. Let's see here. It's just one spot in the back. It is so ugly. I cannot really stand looking at it. So I'm gonna fix that for you. So once I started making this a little wider, at that little place where I was hammering into it, kind of put a kink in there, I'm gonna grind that out because I don't like it. Why don't you forge it out? Because I can grind it out. That's why. All right. It is atrocious. But we're going to fix that part right there, that little kink. I'm going to get that out, and then it'll be a lot easier to fix where I want it to be. Because I don't want that to become a cold shut. If I keep banging on it, I'll end up making that a cold shut, and I don't want that. See, that will translate very quickly into cold shut. All right, so I got that out. That will not be a cold shut now. You don't want cold shuts because they're almost impossible to get out. All right, it's pretty ugly at this point. What are we gonna do? I don't know. Am I still using Wilmot grinders? Yes, that is a Wilmot. That's my favorite grinder. I have a new Wilmot coming soon, right, Chris? Right? All right. I always like to say any of these episodes are brought to you by Wilmot grinders because I started using an old Bader grinder, which was great, and it is the BM2, which. Did you get burned? Oh, BM2, everything was round, and I think I got that grinder in 1986. And that was great right up until 2002 when I got a Beaumont grinder. And Beaumont came out with the KMG, the knife maker grinder, which was really a quantum leap for people who wanted to do flat grinding. And I had one of those, and then as soon as I met Chris and I saw Chris's, first of all, I liked it because it was black and had red anodized aluminum wheels. I'm like, oh, it's like a Ferrari, you know. I wanted that, so I got one of those from Chris, and I have put thousands of hours on it and really got better at grinding because of it, I think. So we're going to refine this disgusting shape right here. I think it's kind of cool because it's come out very wonky at this point, and I'm sure it was like, what the heck are you going to do? You're right. What am I going to do? All right. Okay. I'm going to go back and clean that guard up. Again, I have more guard than I really need, so I'm just going to refine it a little bit. I think I can do it with this hammer. I think I can do it right here, like this. So bring this out of my way more. Okay. Okay. All right. Neil Neil Graham. What's up, Neil? Hey, thank you, Neil Graham. I really appreciate that. What does that say? Heading to gun show. Oh, where's a gun show? I just say something. Sometimes gun shows are a lot of fun because you can find cool stuff there, like I like old guns, and sometimes you can find knives. All right. Huh? A bally song, yeah. So now, really I'm trying to find a way to get that a little more forward. There we go. There we go. Okay. Now, got it. Everybody afraid of that? Is this mine? I think so. So how's it going? How about feedback?
We had a couple of connection issues, but everybody powered through.
Oh yeah, sorry. I don't know why we're having connection issues. Snow probably, yeah, it's snowing out. Well, I hope you all enjoy these live feeds. We have been doing them almost every Saturday, and I just want you to enjoy this. I want you to get involved in bladesmithing, blacksmithing, and have a good time. Andy Phillips, how do I like Curtis's broad back grinder? Well, so far I've used it a little bit and it looks cool. I like it better than the other two that he's had, so I think it seems like it's a pretty good grinder. So yeah, we'll see. I'll be getting one soon to test, and we'll see how that goes. Looks like a spider co. So one thing too, don't ever feel bad about going over and trimming up a blade or whatever. Sometimes when you're making this stuff, you have to over forge it or make it bigger to get exactly to the size you want. I never feel bad about doing that. Making lots of sense there, but okay. MC Williams, when will the Patreon be online? We're working on that. We're going to produce the content first, and then we'll launch the Patreon. So it'll be a while. We just have to schedule a time we can film it because we want to do high quality camera, 2 camera angles. So many people get involved in it. There's 2 or more cameramen or women. There's usually 1 or 2 people on sound, 1 or 2 people mixing and cutting and what do you call that? Editing. So it's a serious production. It's very expensive to do. We're just trying to coordinate it so we can do it and get moving forward. The idea for this Patreon that we're going to do, it will be 13 episodes. And they'll be spread out over 12 months. One of the episodes will be the bonus, like the outtakes, the bloopers, all the crazy stuff that people like to see. That's just for fun. Some other little interesting things. But we'll be starting that soon. And I hope that we'll be able to deliver it in the next few months. So it'll be cool. Kyle Ward. I see Kyle Ward over there. I'm about to turn this down because it's pretty hot. Make this a little wider all over. All right. So what I'm doing is translating the thickness into width because I want the knife to be a little wider and a little thinner. And I know everyone doesn't have a power hammer and a press, but just like anything, maybe you have a motorcycle, maybe you have a bass boat, and maybe you want to forge more than you want to have a bass boat or a motorcycle. So read means don't, what does it say? Red means, what? Oh, red means don't read it out loud. I didn't see any red. What? Let me in on this joke. Oh, that's right. Is that from Kyle? Oh, okay. I was like.
He just said hi.
Hi. Hi. Hi. Of course, the guard is far more exaggerated than we want. All right, I'll work on that and get that straightened up here. So, Forged series. If you'd like to see this more in depth, more details from design until finished, how do you design? How do you shape a handle? How do you make it so sharp? Then get my series. It's called Forged. It's web-based. You can see the information is in the link. So click the link and follow that. Get the Forged series. I guarantee you're going to love it. Even if you're not into forging blades at all, it is quite entertaining and it's full of information. Think about it as a documentary film, or it's educational if you are forging. Doesn't matter what level you're at. We're finding that people who are even master bladesmiths who've come in here and taken that class with me, their forging and their knife making has improved. I want to share with people how do you get the shapes that you want. So thank you, and get the Forged series. Everywhere. Send this one. Send this one to the meteor. Now just a matter of making it smooth and flat. All right, we got a little more guard than we need, but that's all right. I'm gonna grind some of that off. So what I'll do now, this will be a full Tang with the integral guard, not integral bolsters. There's a difference. And I'll run the handle material right up into where you see that guard coming out. So with this one, I think what we can do is I'll cut it off and do a little profiling so you can see I over-forged this one really awesomely so that you know that I screw up sometimes. This isn't exactly what I wanted to get, but turn your fire down a little bit. But it's not bad. It's not terrible. All right, so now we'll just straighten it out, chop it off, and take some of this exaggeratedness out of it. Exaggeratedness, is that even a word?
It is now.
It is now.
I really feel like Oz today. The man behind the...
Oz. Spades. Beer on me. Hey, thank you, Spades. I appreciate that. I will do it. All right, we're gonna get straight over here. Fairy tales can come true. It can happen to you. All right, now chop that off and we'll do the handle on this. That's 2 knives. Time for more, maybe, possibly. You filming my butt crack?
Nope.
A little bit more. I probably have more of this than I need anyway, so. Again, don't. We have some time left. Give Cass and Noel a shout out. Hey, what's up, Cass and Noel? I'm not supposed to read it out loud. Is that what the red writing meant? I'm not supposed to read that out loud. I'm focused on what I'm doing here. All right, what should this be? I'll give you the options this time. A chef's knife, a small recurve fighter, or maybe it's a chef's knife. I really want to do a chef's knife right now. Chef's knife is aggravating and difficult at best, but we can do that. Oh, poo. I like that. That's not bad. So what do y'all want to see next? Chef's knife. All right. Chef's knife is good. I'll do a chef's knife. So forging a chef's knife, what I'm going to do is, let me find one I've already done. I'll show you some things about it. Here is one. All right, I'll be back over here. So this is chef's knife, been forged and heat treated. Heat treated again, that means hardened and tempered. So I will forge approximate thickness. I'm not going to go all the way to the thickness on the edge because when I harden it, it'll want to wrinkle up like a potato chip. I'll make the profile. I'll forge the spine, the heel. This is the heel. Also, it can be called the choil. This is an appropriate choil. Choil is where the edge actually starts. A finger choil is where you put your finger and it's not a good idea to put your finger there, put your finger here. So anyway, I'm not gonna get into that again. We're just gonna do that. So we'll make a chef's knife on this one, and just so you get to see the preform, the setup, and all that. And there's another knife that preform is important. If you don't preform, then you have a mess. And I think I may do this as I'll do it as a full Tang chef's knife. I hope you all are having fun enjoying this today. It's just kind of like speed forging. How long we been on?
Hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah, imagine what I can forge in 4 hours from start to finish. What if we were doing that? What if we did a video where I forged something, I have unknown materials. There's this other thing where they have 6 hours. They got 3 hours to forge, grind, heat treat, and 3 hours to handle. But what I'm gonna do is, let's just say, if you'll watch it, I'll do it, and we'll post it up on YouTube. I'll have unknown materials. It'll just be dropped on the anvil, chosen by Ryan. I have to forge, grind, heat treat, handle, and test a knife in 4 hours. Now you'll be able to see it. We'll definitely have it documented that it's only 4 hours, but we're gonna edit it some so it looks like we did it in 20 minutes. So I think that'll be a great one, and we can do that if you will be interested in watching it. All right, one's hot, the other one's hot. Tongs, again, how many times I say tongs a day? So I'm gonna finish out that little hunter. And bum, 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 bum. Uh-huh. Preform. Okay, chef's knife preform. We'll do that too. We're gonna make a big triangle. I'm gonna translate some of that back into width. So let's get it hot. So sometimes when you get your point and it seems like it's too pointy, you still have thickness, you go back and pull that out to make width again. I want this. So this is going to be a tapered Tang hunter. So I'm gonna widen it out a little bit first. Now I'm going to pull the length. Not that curvy. Now we'll get hot again. One more heat. All right, now isolate this. Oh no. Oh man, it looks like I'm making a spear. I better fix it. I had better fix it. I like it when I do something and people are like, what are you doing? Is 80 CRV good for chef's knives? It absolutely is. That's a great question. That's another reason I choose the 80 CRV too. I feel like that company needs to send me tons of it because I'm talking about something. What's great about it is it has the vanadium in the carbon. So you have edge, you have wear resistance, and you can make it very, very fine grain. That means very thin on the edge and leave it 60, 61 rock. You leave it harder, and that's what's great about it. And it cuts and cuts and cuts. It's great. I use it in my sanmai when I do the stainless clad sanmai. Maybe we'll be able to do that. That takes some setup time. But yes, it's great for a chef's knife, a hunter, a sword, anything you want to make. It's really one of the most versatile steels I've ever used, and I really like it. And there we go. Okay, preform. Now we're gonna stretch it out a little bit longer. Now this, what am I to do with this? Oh my. Put this over here. Put this over here, and I'll just do this. Preform chef's knife. Gosh, nothing will stay on an anvil. Seems like that's the one thing that I can't seem to learn, that none of these will stay on the anvil. Like this, we'll try this again, but it probably won't stay. So go ahead and set that down there. Set this down. Don't set your butt on the anvil either. All right, so this needs to be a little bit longer. It'll be good to go, just a little bit more. And not that much drop. Take some of the drop out. There we go. Squeeze it flat. Now I'm going to see if it is straight. Oh, look at there, straight. So edge in the center of the mass, and that is straight. And I'm going to do just a little bit more. Turn that down. And play with this just a little bit more. Preform. Now, all right, preform is important with the chef's knife also. If you get that wrong, you're just going to fight it. So I don't want you to have to fight it. This knife is not as bad as I thought it was. I'll grind this a little bit too, so you can see what I did. Now I want to get that edge centered in here. It's a little off, so just hammer it where you want it to be. Tell you the truth. It's not super crazy. Just put it over there in the middle. It's tapered, so it's not at the edges. You know, it's from thick to thin, so it's not going to kink too bad. It's going to just roll right over, and that makes it very nice. All right. So straight. That's not terrible. I'm not too dissatisfied with it. A little oversized. I'll show you what I'm talking about. There's exaggeration where the guard is too much, and that's exaggerated. That's more subtle. You know, kind of like the thumb ramp if you want to use that, or your finger could lay on the back like that. I don't choke up in here, so there will be no finger choil in there. That's on a hunting knife, that's the worst place to put your finger, is right in there. That's bad. Pinch it like a chef's knife, and you don't have to worry about cutting your finger when you're skinning an animal way away from your truck, so that way you don't run into problems. There we go. A little more preform here. This anvil is moving all over the place. Oh boy. All right, that will make a, let's find that ruler again, where I threw it. This will make about an 8-inch or so. Oh, this isn't, so let's see. A little smaller than this one. Buying a forge or making a forge. There's a lot of great tutorials on making forges. If you're going to make one, make a ribbon burner forge. Those are pretty efficient. They need a blower. You can get a blower from Blacksmith's Depot. Blacksmith's Depot, Tang & Sons. And you can do that. You can buy a forge if you want to buy a forge and you want it to last you years and years and years. Chili forge. I hope to be bringing some chili forges to the Hammer Inn at Josh's. There's our Seax. So we have edge, profile, looks like a Bowie knife. So the handle will be a little longer. We'll make the handle, I'll kind of divide it out. So I want the handle to be like, if I divide this in half, it'll, this will be about a 6-inch handle. Just interesting, just give it a little bit more length than you think it needs. There'll be no ricasso here. This will fit right up into some, I'll fit up some steel or something. I might make like a kind of a, if we want to call it a habaki, but I'll fit a piece of steel right up to here and the edge will come right up out of it. So we don't need that ricasso area. That's kind of wasted space on this knife. So I'm gonna sit it back, finish that one day in the future, start working on the width of the chef's knife. Here's my preform. Okay, so you understand what preform is. Preform is always going to be that shape you get in the first place to get the shape that you want. And get the handle set up a little bit better. All right. Okay. You don't need a press. I just have one, so why not use it, right? All right, now we're gonna make width and edge. Is that pounds? Preston Seal. Excluding social media, what's the best way to promote your knife making? Making knives and show them to people that you know. That's the best way. Don't take orders for knives. Don't make knives and be like, hey, make a knife and find some friend of yours. Hey, you like to cook? Let's make a chef's knife. So make a chef's knife and make that for him. And they go, oh, that's great. Sell it for what you got into it. Go to the next piece. Don't try and look at what other people are doing. There's strangeness in the market of knives. People buy a knife because of one, quality, I hope, and second, availability. And they go on from there. And some knives are very rare, like my knives they don't come up commonly. And you don't see a lot of them on eBay for sale, so that's good. I don't touch that secondary market. I don't care what happens over there. I make a knife, I sell it for the same price as I've been selling stuff since 2012. But if you see it on the secondary market, it'll usually be twice as much as I sell it for because of the rarity of them and the desirability. That means people get them and hold on to it. But for you starting out, make a knife and sell it for whatever you got into it or less. Just put that money back into it and keep doing it. It's really hard to make a living making knives, I promise. very difficult. But to be able to make them and sell them to go on the next project, it's not very hard. You can do that. Friends will, usually your biggest supporters. I'm gonna grab this a little bit. I wanna make the handle width and the blade width just, go together. So I'm going down the back. All right, now what you're going to find is as you start moving this steel around, you're going to start seeing where you got more than you need in a place or not. So now I'm going to take that, I'm going to get the width I want, and then I'm going to start making it a little longer. I still don't know where the ruler went to. Oh, there it is. So this should end up being like an 8-inch, 7-8-inch knife is nice. This one is going to be, by the time we're done, it'll be about 7.5, 8 inches. That's a great size for a chef's knife, 7, 8 inches. The longer the blade, the more stuff you can fit under it, but it's nice to make this size. This is a great size. This one is a little bigger, I think. But again, there's enough, this one's 9 inches. So normally I go 7 or 9. Oh, well, a stainless steel forge, would it burn out after time like a mild steel forge? Not as fast. So this is, burning out is from oxidation, and oxidation can occur many different ways. One of the ways is, if you look up here, oxidation from heat over periods of time. So stainless is a little more resistant to that. So if you built a stainless forge, Austin, make sure you weld it with stainless wire or whatever, and you know what I'm talking about because you're a great welder, and I know you know what I mean. But yeah, build a stainless forge. It doesn't need to be thick either. You don't really need to make it ridiculous thick. You could do like a gauge. You don't have to go to 1/8 inch or nothing. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to go I'm going to make it a little longer, and I'm going to, everywhere where I got these little bumps, I'm going to tune those out. I'm going to tune those up. That was just where it was thicker there. I'm going to just take that out. Chef's knives are a little more difficult. Yeah, that's right. I'm going to set this over here so I can play with this a little bit while we're fooling around. Taking off very little. This is reminiscent of the old charade sharp fingers. I had way too much on the back on that one. All right, taking a little bit off. Just like that old charade sharp finger. I'll probably bring this a little bit further because I want it to be more gradual. I don't need it to be too extreme like that, but it'll be nice. I'll bring this up more, but now we're over here and we're hot. I don't want to trip on that. So we're gonna go to the back over here. All right, perfect temperature. Give it a little bit of a tune here before I get too much into it. want to make sure. Tune it from this way. I just want to make the heel in the right place. This is the heel on a chef's knife back here. I want to make sure I have it where I want it. All right. Flat, flat, flat. All right, back into preform. So now we'll get back into it. And this piece, like I said, I overforged sometimes, so that piece was way more than I needed. I could have done a lot less of this. That would have been great. So I'm just going to bring it up, make it comfy, where I can hold it in my hand like this, or like this, or like this, or like this. However you imagine you would be using this knife. I like pointy skinning knives for animals because you can core it, you can cut meat off the bone. You don't need a saw to get into a deer or even a big animal. You can, there's joints everywhere. You can just cut in between the joints. The rib cage is cartilage on both sides. You don't need to saw that bone down the middle. Cut through the, anyway, go out there and hunt. It's awesome. It's be a conservationist too. So that ain't gonna be too terrible. I'm comfortable with that. I think that'll be nice. We'll finish that. Edges centered. Okay. That's right. Josh Smith is Montana hammering. Look it up. Hope to see you there. We're gonna have a lot of fun. We'll have Josh Smith, Neil Kamimura. He'll just be standing around looking cool. Mariko Momasi will be grinding chef's knives. We'll have all kind of fun stuff out there. All right, we're out of heat. Get it hot again. Takes a little longer because it's chef's knife is technical. It's a very technical knife. If you don't make it right, it won't work. If you don't make it thin enough, it'll just bog down. So it doesn't necessarily need to be razor thin on the spine, but the edge needs to work. If you make it too thin, it'll wedge into a cutting board. If you make it just right, it'll cut through everything you want effortlessly. You can fillet fish with a chef's knife, and a lot of times people say, I want you to make me a set of knives. I'll make you one knife. I'll make you one chef's knife, and then you learn how to use that, and then I'll make you a paring knife. And then I'll make you a meat cutting knife. And then if you're really good at using those, I'll make you a cleaver. But you don't need a bunch of different knives. That's from the Cutco salesman, you know. Just tell them no. Probably get in trouble for that, huh? All right, we're gonna go a little longer here. See that? Watch this. The idea is to keep it, you know, what's the dimensions we're going for here? You know, we want it to be the right profile, the right thickness, and the right edge thickness. So that is the tricky part, especially if you want to leave some of the forging on it, which I do. I like the way that looks. I went to it was a art craft show. I was demonstrating as the blacksmith. I brought chef's knives. I think I had about 15 chef's knives. I had one that was beautifully hand finished and had a polished handle. And no one picked that knife up. They didn't even look at it. No one was interested. All the ones that had the forging on them were sold. People enjoyed them. They loved that because you can see, hey, that knife was forged. Well, I like the texture. Sometimes I think as bladesmiths, we may overdo that a bit. All right, we're gonna work in here some more and pull this material across here a bit. Use this as a stop. I learned this from Jimmy Crow. That's about all the width we really need. We don't really need to go any wider than that. How long is it now? It's probably grown just a wee bit. 7.5 inches, that's about perfect. All right, so let's play with this steel a little bit more. While that's, I don't think I have time to grind on this. Probably don't, but I want to. Better. All right. How we doing, guys?
Good.
We're good? All right. So there's a thing right here. This is going to be. Okay. What do we got? Uh-oh, what? You're about out of battery?
Almost.
Almost out of battery. I'm gonna do a thing here to make things easier for me. Come on, Vominos. Everybody, let's go. I wasn't singing that. It's a figment of your imagination. Something you'll notice, this knife is trickier. It's way more technical of a knife to make. So I always think about the first couple ones I did and how they wouldn't cut at all. I had no idea about the geometry of the chef's knife and why exactly it worked or why it wouldn't work. Because when you make one and you think, man, that looks great, but it doesn't work, you better find out why it doesn't work. So we're getting really close to the end of where we need to be. The Hunter needs a little more grinding than I wanted to do on it, but again, that's the way it goes sometimes. Don't feel weird about it, just move forward, you know, keep moving forward. Yeah. So by the time I'm done on the edge here, it's one that would roll up just enough. It probably won't roll up just enough, but we're gonna do our best. Running out of heat fast, so I've got a little more heel back there than I need. I want the heel to be right above the handle material, like it's coming straight down there, like a little bit of an S curve maybe, if anything. You know, like the handle material is like this, heel comes like that. I don't want the heel to be way out in front of where the handle is. Pinch grip. This is the heel. You can also call it the choil, but on a chef's knife, tend to call it a heel. Just making sure that area, that so if I divide this into thirds, 1, 2, 3, that first third, almost a half, is all nice and flat down to edge, and the edge is centered. I don't want it to be cupped one way or the other. Center. So do a little bit of planishing, and then I will cut it off and we'll do the handle. This will be a full Tang. Full Tang.
And Tubes asked how many layers of marker in your beard.
Well, I was just sharing that for you all who can't grow them, or somebody had a better idea. Go find a roadkill possum and skin that out and wear it on your face, and that will make a pretty decent looking beard. That will match my beard, because my beard does look like a possum, but a brushed possum. Don't kill possums. Possums can eat more ticks than you could believe. They can eat, a possum can eat enough ticks to tell time. That means 60 ticks.
That was the worst one ever.
All right. Ha ha ha. Pretty nice. All right, we got a little more heel than we need. Nice. Chop out. All right. Uniform thickness. I think we're good. So, one more little spot on there I want to fool with. Then we're gonna cut it off, and then we'll do the handle. And I'll show you something about where the handle should be. You don't really want a lot of drop in a chef's knife handle because of the way they work. You kind of imagine this being almost a straight line here. You don't really want it to drop in because the way it works. So you want to keep your knuckles off the cutting board. So if I have too much drop in that handle, then my hand will be down in here, and I don't want to do that. I want it to be high enough so it doesn't touch the board or cutting surface, and I can rock it. This is the style. 1, 2, 3. Just go to Burt's. Use the Rockwell tester, test the hardness of that. Okay. Okay. Center. Thinking about stuff, a lot of times people use the word fact, and they'll use fact in many different subjects. And because someone has labeled a thing as a fact, that does not make it true. So that's an interesting thing to consider. I did not think about that first or come up with that first, but so many times we're dealing with bladesmithing or making, and the whole movement of makers. Turn it down very low. I'll hear people say fact. Like I was talking about the Seax earlier, and they'll say, it's a fact that we da-da-da-da-da. That doesn't mean it's true. That's your opinion. You find something from the ancient world, and you're looking at the ruins of it, basically the skeleton of a piece, like an old Seax, brought up out of the peat bog, wherever, Scandinavian country, Denmark, even maybe Ireland. And you go, it's a fact that it was da-da-da-da-da. That doesn't mean that's true. That means whoever dug it up has some data that they back up and say it's a fact. Well, it's not a fact. It's your opinion. I mean, it's like an opinion based on all the other things that they find. But you can't go back into that time and see people holding it in their hands and go, I saw these guys making these things, or these girls making these Seaxes. I watched them use them. I watched how they use them. You don't know, and you can't know, because that time is over. That time is in the past. And it's kind of interesting how we always want to confuse what an authority would say, oh, this is a fact. Doesn't mean it's true. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. All right. Now, this is the easiest way I've found to get stuff straight. This blade is tapered in every direction. All right. Really just want to make sure I have the edge, and I'm going to do this again, so the edge needs to be centered in the mass, and the mass being the body or the rest of the way. This is all the body. The edge is the thinnest part besides the point. So we just want to see that it is centered. It's not off to one side. It is centered. And so now I'm going to chop it off, and then we'll do the handle. And I'll give myself about probably 4 inches for that. Yeah, probably enough. Would be really smart for me to actually bring the tongs over there so I don't have to keep going back and forth. The thing you can do, if where you cut off is close to your grinder or chop saw, you get this little burr. You can grind that off. Just grind that nastiness off. Grind that little burr off. Boom. So that's approximately 3.5 inches, which may be a little short, but we're gonna stretch that out to where we need it to be. There we go. All right. Everything good? What kind of power hammer is Big Blue? Let's come over here, I'll show you. So this is an air hammer. It is not self-contained. Here's the air cylinder. These are little servos. This allows it to say, hey, I'm gonna go up this high, and when I hit that, I'm coming back down, boom. And I'm gonna go down this far. So these can be adjusted so I can have longer throw, but for what I'm doing, that's perfect. The dies are removable. The air system is over here on this side. So there's an oiler, there's an air filter. These are all the valves and controls and the servos that go up in here, and it runs off air. It's pretty simple, but this thing is handy. The body of this thing is filled with sand, like pool sand. It just gives it more weight. The anvil is solid, and this is a 110-pound hammer. I chose this hammer because I liked it a little over the 155 because I felt like I had more control of it. So I'm saying, why is it so good? Why is it good? Because it's simple. Very simple. You can get the parts from a hardware store, or you know, like all these parts are pretty simple. It's not very complicated at all. There's not a lot of moving parts on it except for right here. And they're well made, and that's why I like it. It's pretty easy to change the dies out. There are many different types of dies you can get for it. So simple, efficient. Other hammers, huh?
Why is it not as noisy as a regular?
Oh, it's not noisy because I have the exhaust here, and I ran the exhaust out the building, so the neighbors can hear it. But we're in an industrial park, so that's part of what you get for being in an industrial park. So I just ran the exhaust outside. It's just air is all it is. So normally you hear psh, so it's really quiet because I ran it outside. Does that make sense? All right. Okay. So when we're hot enough, another thing, I'm gonna do a little bit of pre-form on the handle here. I'll just go right here. So I just wanna pre-form. Hope that answers. This is a 50-ton press. I like, you know, for me, I just feel like I've had littler presses at a 28-ton, it was great. I had it for years and years. I think I bought it new for the old press. It was 28 tons. I bought it new for $2,800, and I sold it for $3,800. And then the guy who I sold it to, he sold it for more. So The thing with equipment, when you get good equipment, it is as valuable as the newest piece of equipment in this sense. This is not a very complicated equipment. We're talking about a press, not a track hoe. You know what I mean? If you buy one of those, it's a lot of work, a lot of maintenance. You better figure out why you need it before you buy one. Same thing with this, but you don't lose any money on a press. You buy it, you use it, you enjoy it. It's way better than a bass boat. A bass boat costs about $60,000. And I don't know any professional bass fisherman. I know a lot of people who go and fish for bass and they have a blast, and you got a boat, you can take it all over the lake, and you don't make any money doing that. It just costs you money. And my point is not about making money. It's just about what do you want. You want to forge, you want to make knives, you want to enjoy that art and craft of it, then buy some tools. Don't say you can't afford it. Bottled water is expensive. Bottled water is expensive, not tools. Tools don't cost anything. If you buy a tool and the tool costs $3,000 and you use it for 4 years and you say, I don't want to do this anymore, and all the new ones are selling for $4,000, then you can sell yours for $3,000, and that means it costs you nothing. So you got to think about it like that. Very confused culture of Americans. Definitely want to bring that up a little bit. All right, that's not too terrible. Okay. This will be a little oversized. I'm gonna flare it out a bit, and so I can get this handle style. This is pretty simple, but it's my style. Little drop, little kick. I don't really need a chef's knife to have that kick, but it's just part of my style, so I like it. Some of my favorite knives, I started doing this French style, and then I did a K-tip, and then I started putting fullers in them back in like 2012. And it was always cool to see what people's reaction when you have a knife that's only 0.100 thick and has a fuller on both sides. And they're thinking, man, that thing must be a 1/4 inch thick. And you pick it up, it's like an optical illusion. It's like, where did that steel go? So it's kind of fun. This one's just flat. This will be brute to forge probably. I might grind a fuller in and out. All right, work on this thing. Whoa, 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 okay. The last day of the month, isn't it? This is the last February. Okay. We got any questions out there?
Not really. Going for 2 hours, man.
Oh, we have? So we made a Seax. We made a little full Tang Hunter that needs some grinding because you get to watch me kind of screw up. And a chef's knife. All right. Okay. Big enough? A little bit more, a little bit more. I'm trying to be cautious. I don't want to make it too big. I like the handle to be big enough so that I can get that shape I want out of it. So sometimes, you know, forging the handle exactly to shape isn't really necessary. Try to make it like an axe, like I do on a big chopper. It's another fun thing. This is a big knife. This is W2, and that handle does this to keep it in your hand when you're chopping. It won't ratchet out. That came from barongs and kukris and knives that I saw from the Philippines. Same thing with this. This hook on the inside keeps it from sliding out of my hand. It's very comfortable. I got a little bit of space, not too much, but I can cut with this knife and not lose it. I can control the point and not lose it. And that's why that's there. If I make this rounded off, it's gonna be a lot more difficult to hang on to it as I'm chopping. It's gonna wanna slide out of my hand eventually. This is a knife for a friend of mine. Big, giant knife. All right. So we'll do this. Okay, and these two things, needs a little bit of width and a little bit of length, and then we're done. So,
What's your go-to handle material?
my go-to is sugar maple of the curly variety. I like the 5A grade sugar maple. That's the hard maple that comes from like Maine, Vermont, anywhere maple syrup comes from. It's not the big leaf maple trees. They're a little softer. Even if you stabilize them, they tend to be kind of soft. I like the really high quality curly maple. Comes from anywhere up north, you know. It's colder, so the wood grain is tighter. It's very hard wood, and it's beautiful. It's very durable. Second would be African blackwood. I have some other woods that I like, but I'm in a place right now I'm kind of hesitant to use them because there's not very much of it left, and I just don't really want to be the one contributing to the end of a certain kind of world, I guess. Make it a little wider. Yeah, that's about right. All right. Now I got to play with that handle because remember, I don't want it to really drop. I want to kind of follow along the spine of the knife so that when you're cutting with it, it makes it more comfortable. If you have a kitchen knife, your chef's knife has too much drop in the handle, it is more difficult to use. Just the functionality and physics of it are harder to use. Getting close. About right on the money. We'll give it a good squeeze over here. Should be right. There shouldn't be too much drop on it. We'll test it with this. See how that works. Oh, nice. Yeah. It's gonna fall off. Let's just knock it off. So. It's not too bad. One little thing I want to do, I'm gonna straighten it out just a bit. I ain't gonna stay, so I'm not gonna put it there. Come over here, use this. So when will these get finished? I don't know. I just don't know. Huh? Bring that up just a little bit more, and then we'll be done. Straightening, and that's it. Okay, this is hammer. This is anvil. Don't need a lot of heat for this. Just need enough to come out of there, you. It's the big idea, anyhow. Oh, come on. There we go. All right. Yeah. That's what I wanted. Nice. So that got that handle up more where I wanted it to be. We're gonna straighten the edge, and everything just needs another little tune up, and then this one's done. So we'll stick it in here like this. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed that. I always like to forge blades and share the information with you. If you really want to see all the details, all the ins and in between the lines and all that stuff, go get my Forged series. Follow the links, click on them, follow the other links. You know, I'm not super computer savvy, but I can tell you how to get there. You just see it and go click on it and get it and enjoy it, and let me know what you think. And I hope you have a great day. Thank you for watching Saturday Night Live.